Well, I was telling Stuart, this week is so convoluted because everything is falling out of order, partly because I was sick and partly because we've had so much wonderful rain this week. So we're actually doing this Wednesday Walkabout on Thursday to show you on Friday. And I know the humidity and the heat are going to come back later this afternoon, but right now it's not unpleasant, is it, Stuart? It's really kind of nice. So I want to show you some of the stuff that's really, really popped. And I have to say that even though things are a little bit cattywampus because of all of the rain, and I've been doing some work and I've still got lots of zhuzhing, let's say, container planting zhuzhing that I want to do. It nevertheless, this for the backyard, this section, this is my favorite time of year. I think it's because the geraniums are just really glorious and the hydrangeas are really beautiful and stuff is really starting, there's enough heat for stuff to really start to pop. So let's kind of walk around and I'm going to show you the things that have yet to be addressed and then just some progress and then what's coming out and what's going in. So first of all, this coming week, it's going to be all about seed collection because everything that bloomed earlier, the larkspur, the foxglove, the Minoan lace, and by the way, this is the Minoan lace, some of it that I cut for that very summery bouquet I put on my breakfast room table yesterday. But a lot of this, a lot of my effort is going to be spent on collecting seed and drying it and also just making sure that everything is cut back and looks a little less wild and a little less meadowy. But it has to look that way for a bit for those seed heads to mature. So next year I have decided if something works, here's a tip. If something works, use more of it. And I am so in love with all of these dragon wing begonias that I'm just going to use them everywhere because they perform so well in sun, in shade, in baskets, in the ground. This started out just being 3 tiny plants, and by the end of the summer, of course, it will consume this entire space. So that is one big tip, is if you find something that works well in the color palette then you like, and you don't have to struggle a lot to grow it, then definitely put it on repeat. And I think next year I'm going to do even more of it and really, in the past, it's kind of been restricted to the backyard, but definitely next year I'm going to bring it to the front yard as well. This area in here is all a mess right now because I'm getting ready to do a lot of changes to it with some of these containers here. And of course, I'll let you guys in on the action because this just isn't pleasing to me. And so I'm messing with this, and really it's just been so wet that I need things to dry out just a little bit. But boy, can I tell you that bird bath right there, that has been a very popular pool for my avian friends. They have just, especially the cardinals, they've just been going crazy with all of that fresh rain water in it. Over here, this looks, because I always have to show you my uglies, this looks kind of unkempt because back in here I had planted lots of leucojum and lots of daffodils, and that foliage has to die back for it to mature and feed the bulbs for next year. Now, while this looks kind of messy and I can clean it up to a certain extent, I am definitely not going to do that thing where I braid the leaves or anything like that to make it look tidier, because that really slows down maturation of the foliage, and I want the foliage to brown and mature and feed those bulbs as quickly as possible. So even though it looks a little bit messy, this is kind of a hidden area, I don't mind it too much, and this is actually the optimum way to let your foliage die back and mature for the next season. So in totality, all of this needs to be kind of rethought and reworked, but I have to show you over here. Look at my sweet little forest of Blue Point junipers where I shopped my garden. This is one I just dug up a couple weeks ago, Stuart. But at Christmas time with little fairy lights, I think these are absolutely going to be adorable. Now I've got one here that I did have one in it because, and it died. And it's because I mistakenly thought that this pot had a drainage hole in it, and it does not. So I'm going to put a drainage hole in that, and then I think I'll probably plant one more in here because all of these have that, they're in those faux bois containers. And by the way, these, I think both of these I got at Home Depot. I don't know if they're still available or not. But this was definitely all a combo of Shop My Garden, and I'm sorry the light isn't any better than it is. Okay, fun fact. Stuart, I haven't even told you this. These Terra hydrangeas that I adore so much that are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Guess who contacted me yesterday, Stuart? Who? The breeder of Terra hydrangeas. Thanking me for promoting them so much, and she and I are going to visit. This is one of those Southern Living Plant Collection darlings that I just love so much, and maybe the plant breeder will fill me in on where we might be able to get them. I mean, look at the size of these heads, and they're still getting larger and larger. And of all the flowers, all of the hydrangeas that you can dry to bring in, definitely I think these are the most dramatic. Now, because they are top heavy, one thing I think I'm going to do next year is I'm going to put in place, before the foliage starts coming out, I'm going to put in place some kind of support system for them, because I lost a couple of them actually to all of that heavy rain that we had. It really kind of capsized a number of different things in the garden. This is going to be a before and after that I show you, because Stuart, I found a still of what this looked like last year. I still hadn't planted it yet versus what it looks like now. And it's almost filled to the brim, almost excessively. I think I'm going to have to move some of those hosta. But you can see that I put a little contribution of that corally pink in there from a dragon wing begonia, and that just will continue to make itself more and more noticeable as time goes on. And I think it'll be really beautiful. So this is going to be one of those before and after, Stuarts. That was then, this is now, and I'm going to show that to everybody once a little bit later on. Since I've kind of got my energy back a little bit, I'm filled with all sorts of ideas. I've really been working on my myrtle topiaries, and they still need a lot more clipping, but I want fewer larger myrtle topiaries, I've decided. So that's kind of my objective in that regard. Here's a pivotal change. For me, the garden, it just isn't satisfactory until I have all of my focal points, which will be my next garden design fundamental that I'm going to talk about. But my garden isn't satisfactory to me until I have all of my container plantings in place and they're exactly where I want them to be. And a true designer might be able to just intuit that before things were even in place. But I'm not a real designer. I'm a pretend garden designer. And so I have to do a lot of trial and error to see what is pleasing to me. And so I moved this angel wing begonia from over that redbud tree just to the north of the studio, and I moved it over here, and I like it much better because I didn't have that presence of that color here, which kind of serves as that rhythm and repetition, if you look to the long view, Stuart, of that kind of corally pink that starts here and then goes all the way back and draws your eye all the way to the back. Kind of goes back and forth. So that was my motivation there. I can't believe the amount of columbine that I have coming up in here. And miraculously, right now it doesn't have any leaf miner on it or spider mite or anything, but again, I've got some cleaning up to do in here, and I'm going to move that great big pot of amaryllis. Look at that foliage. It's just really spectacular and unbelievable in a very, very The hydrangeas, you can see those that bloom on new wood are really starting to come out. I've noticed mine are a little bit later than others in the neighborhood, and I think it's because of just where they're located in my garden. But that's okay. Some of them are toppled because, again, the heavy rain, just the physical weight of all of that water coming down from the sky really kind of smashed some things.
Bigfoot stepped right there.
Yeah, that's what Stuart said, is it looked like a Bigfoot stepped right here. It just kind of collapsed. And that is, Annabelles are notorious for that. And even when you have them planted in a supportive, in an area that's protected with support, nevertheless, they tend to splay like this, even if you cut them back. However, I will say that just a couple of days of sunshine, they will rebound considerably. Now, it doesn't hurt my feelings too much, because yesterday I cut a huge bouquet of these to bring inside, and it's only when you stand right on top of them that you can kind of notice that it's splayed. But with a little bit of encouragement from me and from that sunshine, these will stand up and fly right before too long, I think. And then look at all of these new buds that are coming in. I think this whole hydrangea hedge is going to be absolutely magnificent when it's in full bloom. Again, mine is a little bit slower than others. Some of the tedious things about all of this rain is that it makes all of the plantings that grow on the other side of the fence just way too rambunctious. And I did have somebody come and cut it all the way back before it starts growing vertical again. It'll grow up into my trees. It will just grow absolutely everywhere. So that's one thing that I do have professionals come and do for me, because I just can't easily reach that high anymore. One thing I wanted to show you guys also is, I was talking to my friend Deborah about this yesterday, and that is, was it year before last now, Stuart, that we had that just terrible ice storm and that Arctic blast, and I lost a number of beautiful trunks on these redbud trees. So my intent this year, with the gift of all of this rain, is to now start self-selecting in a similar way that I self-selected the volunteers themselves to grow up in place because of where they were located and what their form was. I'm now going to start selecting and marking certain canes and branches that are coming out to replace some of those that were lost. And here's an example. So this is a new branch coming out of the trunk. And this is one that I'm going to start leaving in place to arch up and over that way to replace one that was there before. Can you see where it had to be taken off? So you can see how this one is growing very vertically. The taller it gets, it will start arching, and then I will remove the lower branches so that it exposes this trunk. And I'm doing that on all of these redbud trees to fill in the voids that were created by the ice storm. And happily, this growth will be very rapid because we've had so much rain, and especially now going into the summer when we'll have so much heat. Likewise, there's the Boston ivy is going crazy. It's starting to cover up some of the windows. And while that looks very cottagey and very fairy tale-like, nevertheless, it's a little bit too much. So I'll come in and I will start taming that a bit. It made a tremendous difference when I pruned these boxwood balls here. It instantly gave me a sense of control and uniformity and tidiness to the garden, and that was so imperative, I think. And then when I pruned up the viburnum. So I still have some more stuff to do in this area. This is a Southern Living Lamandra, and I'm not going to talk about this too much now because, Stuart, this is something that we're going to do a whole segment on a little bit later this weekend. The larkspur is about finished, but in its place comes up all of this lavender veronica, which just goes everywhere, and I pretty much let it. And in fact, I've noticed some of it has started traveling to the front yard, and I'm going to let it travel to the front yard, and that is just fine with me. I'm also this year, because they've gotten so big, I'm cutting back some of the barberry pretty dramatically. I have not tackled this one yet, but I'm going to, because I want to make room for these white wedding hydrangeas. These are Southern Living plants, for the white wedding hydrangeas to really be showcased here. And also because there's too much of a blob on this side here, Stuart, of this golden barberry. I've pruned some on it, but I still want better air circulation back in here, and this mound is a little bit out of scale. Plus, the other thing is I want this orange rocket barberry to really start being a little more dramatic in this corner. So at any rate, I am going to cut more a little bit on the barberry to give this rose, which is really starting to take off again, a little bit more air circulation there. And then this was a very messy corner. I'm still working on this section in here. But this was a very messy corner, and it had been overgrown with lots of monkey grass, and we dug all of that monkey grass out. You can see obviously that I still need to put down some gravel, and I'm not sure what else. I might even add another lemon lime abelia, I'm not sure. But right now I kind of really like the negative space, and so probably I will leave it just like that, because the negative space makes this huge pot of these dragonwing begonias and regular begonias that much more impactful. And this, by the way, is the top of a bird bath. I love just the saucer look. It makes for an impressive planter. I'm having trouble because of all the rain keeping up with all the work there is to do in the potager. But I'm on it. So I've pulled out, and we're gonna make a video about this, but I've pulled out all of the larkspur that was growing in here. It's actually on my driveway right now because I've got to collect the seed. And in here is going to go either eggplants, icicle eggplants, or peppers. I'm not really sure. But first, I'm going to give this a prune. And once again, let's point out unbelievably how the boxwood is filling in. Even some of the bare canes at the bottom is starting to fill in. So I'm thrilled about that. If you can show them the dill in the distance, see the feathery heads right there? How beautiful that looks. And this pretty soon will, I'm sure, start attracting some swallowtail caterpillars, if it hasn't already, to turn into beautiful swallowtail butterflies. So this will be a pollinator magnet. Lots of stuff that has to be done in here. But I will show that to you. At this point, it just needs some good grooming. But look at how stuff has matured and grown in here, Stuart. It's just unbelievable to me. I got this at Bustani. This is that Rudbeckia maxima. And it is just wonderful. This is a native or a nativar, I'm not sure. But I have to fill in some gaps, but I will. I have pruned the boxwood on either end of this border, but I have much to do, but that's okay. I'm going to give myself a break. But I can't wait to show it to you once everything is up to my standards of perfection. But it's a work in progress right now. The herb pots are looking beautiful. The fennel looks great. I love it with this deep red coleus. I'm actually probably going to move some of these pots into the border to fill in some gaps there. And I will do that. I asked in the community tab if you guys preferred your pinks in kind of a lipstick bubblegum pink or in a corally hue. And I love both, but if I had my preference, I would definitely always select the corally hue. But I find that these petunias look so much, this lipstick color looks so much prettier with this coleus. So, now, and by the way, I've got some nasturtiums that have finally decided to bloom. Yep, they took forever to bloom this year. There's also some, Stuart, if you can point in the distance.
Oh, wow, yeah. I don't know why I recognize that leaf almost more than any other one.
It looks like a lily pad.
It's different than most. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I notice is must be one of your favorite things.
I grew them at my house for once, so I have a connection to them.
Yeah. It's always fun to have that kind of sentimental connection. Did your mom grow them or did you grow them?
I grew them.
You grew them? Well done, Stuart.
Tried them in salad.
Yeah, they've got that kind of peppery taste. That they are edible if you grow them organically, and they do have that wonderful kind of peppery taste. This year I tried the yellow. In the past, were yours the orange or the red?
I
Or
think it was yellow or orange.
yeah, the orange ones are kind of pretty. And then I've done a couple of pots of succulents. But it does look it looks just so fresh. And I must tell you, all of those of you in the West right now who are experiencing such horrific drought, I am so sorry. I so feel your pain. We have been there before seasonally, but you guys are now in it multiple years, end on end, and I can't tell you how my heart goes out to you, because it's just so hard to see your plants suffer, your gardens suffer, and even though it makes you more resourceful with water, it nevertheless is a trial. And so I just want you guys to know that I am thinking about you. Stuart, I think we've run out of time because we have an engagement that we're going to after this. So we may have to save the front yard walkabout for a little bit later. But in the meantime, in this very topsy-turvy week, I wish you well. Question of the day. Did I not ask a question of the day?
I don't remember it, but doesn't mean it didn't
Oh my
happen.
goodness. Well, Stuart has to keep me honest. Okay, Stuart, what is your question of the day?
You do it.
I put Stuart on the spot. My question of the day is, how are your hydrangeas doing this year in your neck of the woods? Because unbelievably, probably because we've had so much rain, I have noticed kind of anecdotally that the hydrangeas really are exceptionally beautiful in Oklahoma City right now. And in your neck of the woods where you live, if you grow hydrangeas, are they also exceptionally beautiful? Or do you not grow them because okay, it means they take lots of water? Or do you grow in a more arid environment, and so you have to grow something in their place? Maybe agapanthus or something else that has a similar flower head shape form. So, Stuart, have I forgotten anything else?
You're
Thank you for keeping me honest. Okay, now we're going to wrap up this topsy-turvy walkabout, the Wednesday Walkabout on Friday. This week is kind of really whoopsie-doodle because we are doing everything on different days than we normally do. And we're doing our Wednesday Walkabout actually on Thursday to show to you on Friday, because after we do this walkabout, okay, let me start over again because I'm going right into it.
Yeah, okay. My
Sorry.
bad.
No, it's not your bad, it's my bad. I forgot what I was doing.
All right. And 3, 2.
Well, my outfit of the day is kind of a garden safari look, I guess. My earrings are from Madewell. Love these earrings. My top is from Forever 21. My belt is Banana Republic. My skirt is, boy, I've had this skirt for years. The skirt is from, I think it's from Target. My boots, which are all scuffed up and old, I've also had for years. These are from Sundance. My bracelets are just an assortment of fun African glass beads, and actually a couple of friendship bracelets. Stuart and I decided to exchange friendship bracelets. So we have some that are kind of similar, and then just a variety of bangles. Stuart, have I forgotten anything? Oh, my coffee cup is from my darling friend Jan at Hungry Holler. She makes these, and every time I drink out of it, it's my very favorite coffee cup. I think of Jan. So there you go. There's your outfit of the day.